Zettel für die lange Weg. 2 Flaschen Whisky für die Zeit. Und ich dich gern habe, du bist dabei. Maria geht, fahrt mal weg, ist weit. Wann ich geh, ich werd dir fehlen, wann ich geh. Du sehst nicht, was ich mach, du sehst nicht, wie ich lach. Ich werd dir fehlen, du watsch sehen. Hab kriegt mein Zettel für den langen Weg. Du schönste, als mir finden kann. Es hat Maria und Dale ganz wunderbar. Hass ich dir den weißen Dank. Wann ich geh, ich werd dir fehlen, wann ich geh. Du sehst nicht, was ich mach, du sehst nicht, wie ich lach. Ich werd dir fehlen, du watch sehen. Well, good Ovet, liebe Leid, good evening, dear friends, or good morning, depending when you're watching this video. We are back with another episode of PA Dutch Live. We have slid our way into the new year. It is now 2023. Can you believe it? 2023. And you know what? Yesterday I wrote a check, and I actually wrote 23 instead of 22. I felt good about myself that I caught that. If this is the first time you're joining us, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you decided to take some time out of your life to join the PA Dutch fun here on PA Dutch Live. If you are joining us again because you come back month after month to see this shenanigans, well, welcome and thanks for coming back. Those of you that have watched the show know the deal at the beginning. I love to give shout outs to people wherever they're watching from. So whether you're joining us on the YouTube channel or on the Facebook page or on Twitter, please put in the comment section your name or something, where you're from. Let us know where you're joining us from, and we'll give you some shout outs here. There's already people were putting comments in before we even went live. This is crazy now. It's like they were all pre-gaming or something or tailgating. I don't know, but we want to give a couple shout outs quick. Burkhard Schmorl says, Schönen Abend aller Zeit. I guess he's coming and joining us from across the ocean. Our dear friend who was a guest on the show not too long ago, that Jeff Marks is joining us from Mount Etna. Mount Etna used to be Wolberstädtel. Jeff, you need to get them to change the name back to the original Pennsylvania Dutch name. Can you get on that? Jacobus, he says, I hope. Work on that, Jeff. Seth Moak is joining us again from sunny San Diego. He says, fix und fertig. Well, that's good. That's good. Warren Deeds is joining Bebish aus Atlanta. Well, hey, Warren, thanks for joining us down in sunny Georgia. Barry Kneer says, and his daughter Gwen joining us from Hawke's Bay. There it is, New Zealand. It's already tomorrow where he is. Isn't that crazy to think about? Kathy is joining us from beautiful Elizabethtown, Pennsylvania. George Eckenroth, Quinton, New Jersey. George, my great-grandmother's maiden name was Eckenroth. Are we related? We might be. Were you from Eckenroths in Berks County and Lancaster County? If so, but we need to catch up. Our good friend Aaron Eldred joining us from, I know where Aaron's from, Lock Haven, Pennsylvania. Hello with the smiley sideways emoji. Actually, Aaron's a student in my class right now in German too. And usually Aaron's head is tilted that way. So it makes sense. Mo, our good friend Mo, is joining us from Midlothian, Virginia. He joins us almost every month. Mo, thanks for joining us. Jerry joins us every month too this month, North Augusta, South Carolina again. Hey, that's wonderful. Donna is joining us from Holtwood. I don't know where Holtwood is. Donna, where's that? That's a new one for me. Or should I know that? I don't know. I don't know Holtwood. Dolly, our good friend Dolly, joining us from Fleetwood in beautiful Berks County, Pennsylvania, a town I know and love oh so well. Amy is joining us from Laurie Station. There's another town I don't know where it is. You have to really tell me what the heck's going on. I don't know where you guys live. This is great. Norman, our good friend, is staying up after midnight over across the ocean in Deutschland. He says, Gute Maria, aus dem Kusla Musikantenland. Norman, thank you so much for joining us as you always do month after month. Edgar says, hey. I don't know where Edgar's from, but hey, Edgar. Our good friend Rachel Yoder, we'll see a picture of her later on here in a minute. Good over to you, Rachel, there in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Boy, we got tons of people. This is so great. Thanks so much, everybody. Dave B is joining us from that's 2 people from San Diego. Dave, do you know Seth Moak? He's in San Diego too. Check him out. Thicket Craft Forge is joining us from Arkansas. My goodness, Hog Eye. Now that's a great town name. Hog Eye, Arkansas. There, I hope there's a song written about Hog Eye. If not, maybe we'll have to write on one. John McDevitt says, "Do bin ich? Hey, John, do bin ich? I'm here. Here I am." Sarah says, "Hi, I'm on YouTube. I'm glad I caught this. I'm trying to learn more about my PA Dutch ancestry. That's wonderful. I'm glad that you're excited. I'm in Georgia too, but it's not sunny." Oh, okay. Well, the sun's gone down here in Pennsylvania. It's quite dark out right now. We didn't have any sun today either. It was cloudy. It was a pretty dreary, dreep winter day, as we'd say in Pennsylvania. Sarah, I'm so glad that you found us, and hopefully, use the YouTube channel that we got here to increase your knowledge of Pennsylvania Dutch stuff. And good luck with all of the ancestry. I know what that's like. George Heckenroth, hey, we got to talk, George. Send me a message sometime. We'll get to go, and we'll talk about our Eckenroth roots. Carol, our dear friend Carol, is joining us from chilly Burnville. Yeah, it's chilly out there. It's actually winter's kind of feeling a little bit like that, huh? Erica, our good friend Erica, who joins us almost every month. She's one of that family that sends all that wonderful music our way. Hi from Quakertown. Excited for your interview tonight. Well, a little secret, Erica. I'm pretty excited too, because tonight I'm going to learn some stuff. That's for sure. Dorinda is joining us. Well, she's just saying hello. Well, hello, Dorinda. Our good friend Scott Reagan is joining us. Kuda Ovit. Scott, Kuda Ovit to you too. A couple more people here real quick. Well, I got a lot of people this week. This is wonderful. V is joining us from Indiana. Boy, we are all over the place. New Zealand, Arkansas, Indiana, Georgia, California, Germany. This is wonderful. And Stacy is joining us from Clementon, New Jersey. Whew, I think I made through everybody that put a chat thing in there, but don't let that stop you. And as the episode progresses, those of you that are joining us for the first time, of course, you can ask questions, or when we get into the interview section, if you have questions for Rob, who's going to be our guest tonight, please don't be afraid to throw something in the comment section. Well, my dear friends, what is happening tonight? Well, I'll tell you what's happening. We're going to have a lot of fun, and we're going to learn some stuff. That's for sure. So tonight, our special guest is Rob Shriver. We're going to bring him on here in just a little bit. I need to go through some news and update everybody what's going on in Pennsylvania Dutch country. Let's start with, I have some learning opportunities for those of you that maybe have always wanted to try and learn Pennsylvania Dutch. The first opportunity for you is one that's in person, and it'll be for people that are in the greater Lebanon, Berks, Lancaster County area of Pennsylvania. Excuse me. That sounded bad. Our dear friend Alice Spade, who's been teaching the dialect now for years, the language for years, she'll be offering some more classes. You can see there on the slide the dates coming up. Starts pretty soon here. She's running classes on Tuesdays from 1 to 3, and a different section that runs Saturdays from 9:30 to 11:30 in the morning. It'll be taught at the Brendel Museum there in historic Schaefferstown, which is in Lebanon County. You can look them up on Facebook or on Instagram as well. Just search Historic Schaefferstown for more information if you'd like to sign up for the class. Another opportunity for you, doesn't matter where you live. I apologize for the small font, but our good friend Luella Sebo Reed, or Reed Sebo, I always get her last name mixed up. I apologize, Luella, if you're joining us tonight on the show. She will be teaching another virtual Pennsylvania Dutch class. This is the 9th class that she's taught. Now it'll be starting in February of 2023. It's through the Lehigh Carbon Community College. You would have to sign up for the class. Of course, there is a cost. I'm not quite sure it's printed on the flyer here. And again, I apologize for the small font, but if you go online and you Google search Lehigh Carbon Community College, I've also posted this and shared this on my Facebook page, PA Dutch 101. You can get the information and sign up. It's not too late to sign up, so it doesn't matter where you live. It is a virtual class that you'd have the opportunity to join that class and learn some Pennsylvania Dutch and culture too. Some other things to mark for your calendar. We have the Groundhog Lodge for kids, or Grunza Lodge for Junge. That'll be taking place on, let me read here, Sunday, January 29th from 1:30 to 3 p.m. That will be at the Midway Diner. They have a back room that's a large banquet room. They did this last year, and it'll be all things geared towards kids and to get them interested and give them some knowledge about Pennsylvania Dutch culture, the groundhog, of course, and Groundhog Day. It is a free event, so put that on your calendar. If you got kids, from 3 to 3:30, you'll get an opportunity to take a picture with Poppy the groundhog. It's a really great event put on by some really, really good people. Give them a like there on Facebook. Just look PA German Summerlaw Off. That's the name of their group. They also will do another event. I believe it's in March, and I'll advertise that in our next month's show. Also, in the past, I have highlighted our good friends, Linda and, oh my gosh, Herzog. I'm totally drawing a blank on his name. I feel so bad. He plays banjo. Ayamaye. Somebody help me out in the comment section. You know who I'm talking about. Every year, they've been continuing the tradition of doing a traditional Pennsylvania Dutch New Year's greeting in the language. They do performances the Sundays throughout January. Mike, thanks, Erica. Mike Herzog. Mike, if you're watching, I'm so sorry, buddy. We're friends. I just totally your name just flew out of my mind. They already performed on the 8th and the 15th, but this coming Sunday, the 22nd, they'll be at Long Swamp UCC Church. And then on the 29th at Solomon's UCC Church in Macungie. If you ever wanted to hear them perform that, it is an awesome performance. If you've never heard a traditional Pennsylvania Dutch New Year's wish, you're in for a treat. So put those on your calendars if that's something you're interested in, of course. So our good friends in Germany that are from the Pfalz, this region where a lot of the Pennsylvania Dutch come from, we're constantly trying to build bridges and get people in Germany interested in our culture and to get the Pennsylvania Dutch people interested in where we came from. There's a very famous cartoonist in that part of Germany by the name of Stefan Boisel, who's been doing these traditional kind of comedy comics for years now, many years. And he and Dr. Michael Werner have asked if there'd be any interest in them doing some in Pennsylvania Dutch. And I said, well, there's only one way to find out. Send me a couple and we'll share them on our social media feeds and see. So here is the first one I want to share with you. One a month I'm going to share with you. Here's one. If you can read Pennsylvania Dutch, great. If you can't, I'll translate it for you. But as you can see, Henna and Henrietta, that would be the husband and the wife's names. 100% Pennsylvania Dutch. So we have the two kids there talking to the dad, the grandfather, Grandpop Grickerman, Kat Good. They're saying to the guy in the chair, oh, Grandpop, can we, let's get a cat. And the girl is saying, please. And the dad turns around, or the grandfather turns around and says, nee, für Schönheit und Kat schafft nix, ist alles vor am Fresse und leider ganz Tag just rum. He's saying, no, definitely not. A cat doesn't work, doesn't do anything. It's always eating, and all it does is lay around all day. And then you hear the voice from the kitchen say, ja, und wir haben schon etwa Seller chopped it, which the grandmom saying, yes, and we already have somebody that does that job. So angers the dad. That in Pennsylvania Dutch humor, that's funny. It's funny in that German dialect region area as well. So Henna and Henrietta, just wanted to share that with you guys, and let us know if you enjoy that type of stuff, and we'll get more for sure. The last couple of months, I've been doing a salute to a local town in Pennsylvania Dutch country. And this month, the winner is, drum roll, Macungie. Salute to Macungie. Macungie's original name in Pennsylvania Dutch was Millerstädtel in Lehigh County. Today, it just goes by Macungie. Founded in the great year 1776. And at the latest numbers I could find, population of 3,257 wonderful people there in Macungie. So we all say a salute to Macungie. Well, it is time for us to bring our special guest on. This month, we are welcoming to the show Robert Schreiwer. Rob's going to tell us about all things Urglaawe, and I'm going to tell you guys up front, I don't know a lot about this, and it's a topic that has always interested me, but I've never really reached out and asked questions. Tonight, I get that opportunity. So without further ado, Rob, hello, Gouda Ovid. Oh, Rob, you must be muted.
Do you know how many people wish they could mute me?
Now we can hear you. Wunderbar. Rob, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mark.
So we will keep this in English because not everybody in the audience can understand Pennsylvania Dutch, which is fine.
Not yet. In a bit, maybe 10, 15 years,
Yeah, well, we're working on it, right? So, Rob, welcome to the show. I'm so glad that you agreed to join the stream, and you were really excited. I mean, it came across to me that you were really excited to get the opportunity to tell the story of the Urglaawe, but to people that maybe have never even heard of it, or maybe they heard of it but have no idea what it is. So I'm going to ask you to start off by kind of giving us the, well, first off, let's start with where are you originally, where did you grow up, and what is your connection to Pennsylvania Dutch before we even get into the Urglaawe?
Okay, well, let's see. I grew up in here in Berks County, which at. I'm actually in my parents' house right now in Wyomissing. My family's mostly from Carbon County and Schuylkill County, and we are uh, descendants. We have some Lutheran line, but most of it is Mennonite and actually Brethren. But and the language, my accent got worked out of me in school. Um, but and
But you grew up with grandparents speaking Pennsylvania Dutch and hearing it?
Grew up in the end.
Okay.
And and the mid 1980s is when I started getting involved in the language movement. I had lived abroad. It was kind of funny. It takes sometimes living abroad is when you actually really appreciate your home culture, because I'm sure a lot of people in the audience have had the same experience. They left the Deicherei and they went somewhere else, and they discovered that not everybody does things the same way. Like they didn't know what Fastnachts were. They didn't know, things like that. Um, and so when I came back from Yugoslavia studying over there, it kind of re-energized me to look into our own culture and really try to make it, as a one thing I always say is like the preservation angle. Preservation is not going to keep us going. It has to be about advancement, and that's when I started getting the verve to do that way back in 1986.
That's wonderful. So now let's get to the meat and potatoes of why we have you here tonight. Let's start with the elevator pitch, essentially, of what is Urglaawe?
Okay, Urglaawe, which translates to the primal or the ancient faith, is a modern, modern, not the only, modern iteration of the ancient Germanic religion as seen through the Pennsylvania Dutch culture. And there's a lot of things in our culture that are very, very old in terms of their German history, going back, to time immemorial. Much of it survived the conversion. Much of it got reinterpreted during the conversion. Many of the old deities were grafted onto saints, and so it is not exactly a revival of the old religion, because it's kind of hard to do that. But we took the things within our own culture that had heathen era roots, pre-Christian roots, and put them into organized structures, and have a religion out of it that's actually quite effective and works pretty well. We don't have a set orthodoxy. We have markers for what Urglaawe is, and but we're allowed to believe what we want to believe. But when we're together, we all do the same thing. So we are orthopractic rather than orthodoxic.
So I guess my first question would be when you talk about the old religion, and for people that really don't know history or don't really know much about religion, when you say that, what does that mean?
What that means is, prior to Christianity coming to Europe, our ancestors already had religion, and the Germanic tribes were never 100% monolithic. There were variations in the religious practices, but when Christianity hit the German population, Christianity had to adjust in a lot of ways because in order to be accepted by the people. But it was a polytheistic religion, much like other Indo-European native religions were, and that had lots of gods and goddesses. Most of the lore of the actual written lore that we know about it turns up from Scandinavia, but a lot of it remained within our folklore and within our practices of hexerai and braucherei, and also just like certain folk tales and things like that. And I'm a trained braucher. I was trained by the Three Sisters Center. My mentor was Jessie Tobin, and her mentor was Dennis Boyer. Dennis Boyer wrote the book Once Upon a Hex, and he had done a bunch of interviews. I think he did 80 interviews with elderly practicing brauchers, and then Jessie did 8, and I'm up to 278 now.
So
yeah,
again, you're throwing words out that a lot of us know, but in case there are people watching the stream that have no idea about this one aspect, that you've mentioned it more than once, so I think it's important for us to at least explain what it is. What is a braucher and braucherei? How do you explain that to somebody that has no idea what you're talking about?
Yeah, the funny thing is that it's both simple to understand in one hand, but it's also very complex and complicated to explain it. But prior to the rise of modern medicine, they were the doctors of the village. They were oftentimes the sages that people went to for advice. They were keepers of stories, um, and almost every village had at least one or two practicing brokers. Now we have a language issue because we have Brauerei and Hexerei in Berks County. They make a distinction between the two, but in some other counties they use one term, the other for both, and in some places they use the terms interchangeably. We in Urglaawe use the two interchangeably, but the scope is different. The way that people explain the difference between Brauerei and Hexerei to layman is actually really not accurate, but it gets a point across. Some people would say that Brauerei is white magic or of God, while Hexerei, at least in Berks County's interpretation, is not of God and is black magic. It's actually not that. That's actually not that simple at all. Um, but that helps people understand, at least within the Berks County variant of Deitsch, that they see a separation, and that one group got pushed aside and actually persecuted and suppressed during the 30s in the anti-German hysteria, and the other group also kind of went underground for a while, and we lost a lot because of the anti-German sentiment. But a lot of those practitioners kept their ways, and I was interviewing people who were in their 90s, and a couple who were over 100, and they were happy to be able to tell their stories before they passed away, and very honored to have that opportunity to be able to get that across.
So, if turning back to Urglaawe, and you talk about how there's things in our in the Pennsylvania Dutch culture that we do, or stories that we have, or things that we say, or things that we, as we maybe think of as a tradition, but we really don't know where it comes from. Can you give at least one or two examples of something that the Pennsylvania Dutch do that have these really old roots that maybe most of us have no idea about?
This one, I'll give you one that actually kind of surprised me when I actually started polling the Facebook groups about it. Is how many people still eat fish and crackers or oysters and crackers on New Year's Eve? There is and a lot of people don't do that anymore, but that's actually rooted in the commandment of a goddess that her feast night, which is December 31st, that you are to eat only a meal of herring and gruel, or of interpret of fish and crackers, or anything like fish and like a light grain. It's supposed to be like a starvation or a poverty diet representing the end of the year coming. And in contrast to that is the pork and sauerkraut meal the next day. And that I've always been a little skeptical of the whole pig rooting forward thing. With possibly, and this is still kind of conjecture, but boar and pig are sacred to the god of fertility and abundance, the old German god of fertility and abundance, and cabbage represents wealth. And I have a suspicion that there is at least part of the influence of our New Year's traditions, New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, come from the ancient Germanic lore, and people continue to do it now, and they don't realize what they're doing. Same with the egg trees. Egg trees, people outside of Dutch country, they're like, why are you hanging eggs on your trees? The eggs represented back in the pagan and heathen eras. Putting ornaments on the trees was to represent the fruit, to try to encourage they weren't just decorations. They were actually sympathetic magic, trying to get the trees to bring forth fruit. And the eggs are actually doing the same thing, because there's really not many other reasons I can think of having eggs on a tree. Unless somebody really screwed up in hiding the eggs and the kids never found them. But.
So I guess I could have a couple questions that I just don't know about. So talking about Urglaawe, you say it is a religion. Is that's a statement I can make?
Yes.
Okay, so do you have a church, or if I'm a practicing person of Urglaawe faith, I think I'm a practicing Lutheran, so I know the deal. On a Sunday, I go to church, we sing some hymns, we pray, we get communion, and then, then you're good for the week or whatever. What does that structure look like for Urglaawe?
Most Urglaavers actually put their religion into their daily life. It's usually through like living deliberately and thinking about what you're doing, and just being aware of what you're doing, what you're thinking, and what energies you're putting into what. But there's no requirement that anybody has to be part of an organized Sippschaft or Freibesitz. They're the two categories. A Sippschaft is what they translate to in English as a kindred, which is a congregation, but that's one that is bound together by oaths among the members. And a Freibesitz is a freehold where the members are just like in fellowship together. They don't actually have like an official oath taking to one another.
So when you say an oath taking, is that like a ritual that would happen,
Yes.
like the equivalent of like being baptized in a Christian church or something along those lines?
Yes, yeah, and baptism actually has heathen era roots too. I mean, there's a Christian baptism, but they also used to anoint babies with water in the heathen days, and we actually have that rite of passage as well. But that's being recognized by the community, much like baptism is. Yeah, the oath taking is a ritual, and we kind of sound like the Borg from Star Trek because we're all saying that, reciting the same thing at the same time. But um, and it was written by me, which means it's very Libra, full of like all sorts of words, making sure that everybody is given a chance to express themselves if there's a problem, things like that. And it's worked out pretty well. I mean, the uh, the severity of an oath is something that is common to all heathen denominations, and that oath, it really makes me aware of things. Like, for instance, when our school tried to institute the saying of the Pledge of Allegiance in the morning, I said, "Listen, if we're going to do that, you have to let me teach a class on what a pledge is, because I work in a school for kids with special needs, and if they don't understand what a pledge is, that's an oath. Like, it, if people don't, if they are taught from a young age that they can break or not pay attention to something that they pledged or vow to do, then that sets them forth in a lifetime of breaking promises without thinking about it. And so that's something that we put in our religion very, very. Your word matters. So
Okay, so let's talk demographics. The people that are practicing Urglaawe, the people that you are meeting up with and communing with, are they younger? Are they older? Is it a healthy mix? What does it look like?
okay, so it started out in a couple different phases. The largest of the sip shops is actually Distelfink, which is here in Pennsylvania. But there are several states now that have sip shops in them, and but ours is the largest. I'll go with that one. When I first started out, it actually wasn't my intention to establish a separate denomination. I was thinking I would take what I was finding in our lore and add it to one of the other heathen branches, Asatru, but the two are very similar because they both have Germanic roots, but the difference is it's like they had to keep their stuff intact. Our bringing our stuff in wasn't really helping them. So setting it on our own, I ended up discovering that, what, I think we're gonna have to be a standalone denomination, and it was mostly in the early stages, formed by some of my friends who were already interested in the research and some of my students at Kutztown, and then it went into another phase where we started getting a lot of people who were heathens and pagans and looking for something that was more in their familiarity, like they might have been a Pennsylvania Dutch extraction, and they started coming to us. And then the next phase was actually people who were trying to find their heritage. Period. They might have been Christian, or they might not have been like not particularly religious at all, and they came to us through that. And that's kind of where we are right now. So it's still a large movement towards us. So people are trying to connect to the heritage, and connection among people and between people and the environment. That's another very strong thing within Urglaawe. Every religion has certain things that it holds as principles. For Christianity, it's addressing the sin of the fall of Adam. For us, it's addressing the disconnections among people to the world around them. And
One of our viewers has a question for you, or multiple questions here. Barry's saying, is there any holy book or writings associated with this religion? And how about a hierarchical structure of teachers? Are there priests? Are there pastors? Or what, how's that work?
okay, so it, it turns out, like actually becoming a priest, so to speak, we call him tzivar, which comes from a neologism taken from the deity's name of Tsiu, who that's the god Tyr, where Tuesday comes from. And Pennsylvania Dutch, he was the overseer of the thing, or the where the tribes would come together, the ding, and that's where Dienstag comes from. It was the day of the thing where communities would gather and have all their legal and personal issues settled before the god. And so a tzibur becomes a priest, or a tziburin for if they for females. And but we are still part of the community. We're not above the community. It's everybody in Urglaawe, everybody has something to offer, and everybody has something to take, and that's the way it should be. Holy books, exactly, not exactly. We our myths, myths aren't really holy. Myths are metaphors, and we do have myths that have been drawn directly from our culture. I mean,
Could you give us one real quick, like a short one?
Yeah, I mean, there's one that I remember reading about as a kid in a Reader's Digest book on American folklore, and it was about Eviker Yeager, the Eternal Hunter, who roams Blue Mountain, the Blåbark, and my family's from just the other side of the Blåbark in the north, and to my aunts, they knew the story better than this book was actually describing it. And when you would hear a particular sound off the mountain, I remember one of my grandads, get inside, because like the Eviker Yeager's coming, and he's so big he could run you over and you wouldn't even know it. What that sound actually turns out to be is flocks of geese honking. Their honking's echoing reverberating off of the side of the mountain, but it sounds like a pack of dogs, like surrounding. It's like scents around. But in the story, in Lynn Township in 1752, they had a drought. That's where the Alamengel region comes from, the all deficiencies area. The drought was severe, turned into a crop failure because they had overcut the region. They had cut down too many trees. It was like a mini dust bowl before having dust bowls was cool. And so the people put out. They said that the sorcerers, the hexes, had put out offerings of hay and straw because it was all they had left, just to recognize that they had damaged the environment there. And then throughout the night, they heard this wild noise outside, and when they came out in the morning, all of the game had been driven that had left because there was nothing to eat, had been driven back across the mountain, and they all credited it to Eviker Yeager, who is the god Huller, the god of death, a god associated with death. And by the way, even though we know logically that Scrapple is older than this, he's also credited with being the god who gave us Scrapple because he drove Rabbit over the ridge. And so the farmers took to hunting and saved the colony in that year. And but this is where we get the idea that the god of death can also be the god of second chances and transformations, and that area. And that area in Alamengel is not quite as fertile as some of the regions right around it, but they managed to make it a much better area to live in. So
Mario wants to know: are there ceremonies beyond an oath, like catechism or marriage or funeral or etc.?
Here's a lovely Dutch compound word for you. That's the child's water water baptism. We have rites of passage for different coming of age, marriage, death. We observe the year as a cycle of life. The new year actually begins for us. The spiritual new year begins for us with the spring equinox, when life abounds. But right now we're in the our next major observance is called Entstanding, which means emergence. It comes from Etstea. But the emergence or the manifestation. It's the baby bump phase of the wheel of the year. It's the sign of potential life coming, which will be born at the spring equinox, and that's the groundhog emerges from the hole. The groundhog lore is actually what you see in Punxsutawney is nothing compared to the stories that come out of Brockery. Like the otherworldly messenger, you know. Think about this. He used to come up with, and the groundhog lodges do this in a more humorous way now, but they used to read all sorts of things. There are people who actually had skills in reading groundhog behavior, and they would actually go out and try to interpret what the groundhogs were doing. This was common among Braucherei communities and Hexerei communities, probably into like the era between the wars when things started getting a little harsher on them. But that otherworldly messenger brings information that the people want. And what information do farmers want? They want to know, when can I plant? So that's the reason that is the one that held over into the folklore the most. But that wasn't all that the groundhog was known for. And curiously, foxes are also used for that in some areas of the Dutch of the Duitscherei, and bears. And the song "The Bear Went Over the Mountain" to see what he could see. That's bears' behavior of predicting when winter's ending. If they saw the snow, they went back in, and people would observe the bears' behavior as well. I think that song is English, but it's not uncommon. So.
Well, you shared some photos with me, and I definitely want to show some of these to everybody. And we can talk a little bit more. If you could briefly just tell us what we're seeing in these photos, Rob.
Okay, the distal Fink statue. Now I see, if we were on Hawaii and something like that were there, all the tourists would be coming to take pictures by that thing. I love that. I actually love that monument. It's right by the Brooks Heritage Center, along with Topahakan, and that's where Distal Fink Sipshoff was founded. That's why we have the name. What you're looking at there are the leaders of different Urglaawe communities around the country. They came to the Duitscherei this past June for the folk festival, and so we could take them on the sites that they hear about in the stories and the myths, so they could get a frame of reference and understand it. Because what they do now, many of our regions are similar in terms of the growing period of the year, but one of them, Brianna, she's third from the left there, and with the green jacket on, she lives in San Diego, and her their cycles are very different from ours. So she's adjusting her calendar to have the events fall where it's relevant for them. And that's something that the religion has to be relevant to the people. Yeah. Otherwise, when we're all together, they would observe it on the zone 7A, 7B cycle, which is where I live. But they have to make it relevant to them, or it won't really mean anything. And so we brought everybody here to see what the Haymot here is all about.
Yeah.
Because we are really trying to get the diaspora involved in this more.
So what are we looking at here, Rob?
This is, what is this?
Looks like is it an altar of some kind?
This is an altar. This is a very simple altar for us. I mean, but this is for Entstehung, actually. The Fastnachtskuche. If you read, oh God, now the name is escaping me. The Beliefs and Superstitions of the Pennsylvania by Edwin Fogel.
Yes.
In the early pages of that book, he refers to our old deities. He makes a miscue on a couple of them, but he talks about the cakes being made in honor of Siu. Well, they're actually not made in honor of Siu. They're made in honor of Fried, where Friday dog comes from, who people might recognize by her Norse name of Frigg more. But those cakes, I make Rektakuche. What's the word? Funnel cake.
Yeah.
I make Rektakuche instead. Somebody else in my kindred, though, Michelle, she just made the Fashnachts already. We call them Fettkuche, but that represents the rising of the baby in the belly, and so for us, it has a different meaning. I don't even know if it has the meaning of the pre-Christian donuts that were made, but it's I like carrying that tradition in, and so
Sure.
that's the offering. Fried is that bronze statue in the background there. In the front are those three women together. Those are some of representing the matrones, votive altars that turn up in Germany and along the Rhine area.
Yeah.
And they're usually goddesses of place or goddesses of family, or some sort of like Edis, or the overseers of the matriarchal line. Where's that statue?
Yeah, Barry. Yeah, go ahead. You can tell him for the distal fink. For the distal fink.
Oh, it's if you know where Grings Mill is, it's right by the Berks is it Heritage Center or Historical? It's the
Berks Heritage Center.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's right like on their lot. They have the windmill there, and the distal fink is sitting right there.
Yep.
It's been there for a long time, and a few years ago, some of us went there to wash it up so it could get painted again. It needs to get painted again now. This is this is the rising community in Chicago. This is that Greater Chicagoland Pagan Pride Day. The woman seated there, she is, I credit her with being the co-founder because she gave me the idea for what we would name it when I finally decided we should have a name, and I translated the name into Dutch. So this is our buggy. The buggy. The buggy, I kind of bought at a lark, to be honest. I mean, even though I have plenty of plane background myself, I drive a car. But we actually do ritual pullings of the buggies because in German lore, some of the goddesses went around in buggies, and so we actually pull images of the goddesses around Bristol, particularly on December 31st, which I have my colleague here, India. My daughter here, India. She was pulling the buggy in the rain.
With a corncob pike.
Yeah, with a corncob pike. She was really working it. Along with one of our other kinswomen, and we were pulling in the rain because it's what we do.
That's a picture of it right there, huh? Or it looks like it's raining there as you're pulling.
Yeah, that's actually that's India right there in the front. That's Kim. That's Kim next to her, and inside we still have the skeletons from the Parade of Spirits. That's Sadie and baby Orly, but and then our Groundhog Day, which Stacy Stewart, who's in the chat there, she's been doing a lot more to get like artwork that surrounds our holidays and puts them in the context, and also to make sure that we're using our language more, because again, preservation is not enough. It's about advancement.
So is this some kind of ceremony, maybe, or?
Yep, this is our flaming spinning Yuletide sun wheel. This is for the winter solstice. That's an old piece of farm equipment that we put old clothes on, socks and underwear, and then we burn to represent the return of the sun. It's an amazing ritual, actually, and that's Beck spinning it. I used to spin it, but Beck does it now, and they do a much better job with it than I do. But you see, the funny thing about that is while we're burning the old socks and underwear, we're also taking up collections of new socks and underwear to go out to homeless communities. We do direct donations to people in the streets.
So now, again, for people that are trying to make sense of all of this, this tradition of lighting a fire on the winter solstice is an ancient tradition that goes way back.
Way back. I mean,
way back.
It's similar to the Yule log. Technically, at least Saxo says it. Saxo Grammaticus gave the lunar solar one. Is it Saxo?
I actually don't know.
I think it was Saxo. It described Yule as being the first full moon after the winter solstice. Yeah, something like that. But we observe it from the solstice to New Year's, which works out nicely for the 12 days of Yule. But so that we usually try to do it on the 20th or the 21st, but this year we had to do it a little later because of all sorts of things happening. But all right, this is this is my family cemetery. One section of it has been split off to become an Urglaawe Grophof, and so that's what this is. And right here, that's one of the that's Havamal 77, or as we call it, Hohelied. Translated into Pennsylvania Dutch, and
it actually says 76.
In our book it comes up as 77.
Oh.
So.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But it says it right on it too. Okay. And that's the first. This is the first funeral I ever had to oversee. It was for one of my former students, Dan Riegel, and it's very interesting. His parents found out about his conversion at his funeral after his funeral, his Christian funeral. But the next week they came to our memorial service with his ashes and their family. They stayed for 8 hours. We all we all really bonded together. It was, out of tragedy came a blessing.
Yeah. Wow. Well, there's one other thing I'd like you to. You said you might want to talk about a little bit real quick tonight before we close this part of the show. Recently, and we talked about this on a previous episode about how there was a new a new flag, new Pennsylvania Dutch themed flag that you and Rachel Yoder worked on, and I have some pictures here of it. And like I said, I've showed them before, but having you here is great. So from your perspective, and kind of keep it, again, like the elevator pitch type thing here. What was the tell us the short version story of how this came about.
Okay, well, what part of the reason is that, um, first off, you actually said the most important thing here, which is a new flag. We're not trying to tell anybody that I got the old one flying behind me too. A new flag is. We're not trying to force anybody to give up the old one if they feel loyal to it. Um, but what we tried to aim for on this flag was more inclusivity, because I mean the old flag definitely has a specific religion attachment to it, and but that's not the only reason. It's also, um, it's hard to get hold of. A lot of people can't find it easily when they want to buy one. Um, but when the flag first came out, I remember back in the '80s when it first came out, and I really wanted one. It took me a long time to actually be able to get one, and the flags are expensive to make, but with the driving force behind it for us was just we actually started by polling people what they thought of it. Would there be a basis for it? And I polled over like 3,500 people, so it wasn't. It was a small sample, but it was significant, and we had some resistance from it at first. But then when they saw the design and they saw that it was meant to represent everybody, that's what the two heads are for. It's not because of any Roman legion thing, or any Habsburg thing, but the two heads represent, and the two heads with the one body represent differing ways of thinking among our communities, but we're all still the same people. So it represents the people in the Haymont versus the diaspora. It represents Christian versus Urglaawe. It represents, people who live in the city, people who live in the country, and I think that that's important.
And the words for the people that don't understand Pennsylvania Dutch, it says "Mia sind die Deutscherei."
Yeah,
Best translation.
We are Pennsylvania Dutch country, because wherever that flag goes, that's Pennsylvania Dutch country. And Deutscherei, to be fair, is a term that's a word I coined in the 1980s because everybody was saying Deutschland for both Germany and Pennsylvania Dutch country, and now it's in video games. like I've discovered that there are video games where they have a country of Deutscherei that's run by like an Amish, an Amish autocratic religious theocracy, and but it's kind of funny. But the flag color, this design won out. There were a few. We had, I think, 10 different designs initially, and we whittled them down and took suggestions from people, including you, because we were initially capitalizing the first, but then the word sin capitalized changes it from a verb to a noun, and so. And we addressed that pretty well. I'd like to have Rachel on sometime to talk about it in a little more detail because it's this is a work of both of us, and it was kind of like my vision. But Rachel and I work really well together, and as you do too, and it came out fantastically. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and for those of you that follow me on social media, I've posted links to where you can purchase this flag if you want to get one, and I'll repost that again this week for anyone that's interested in purchasing one, because you can get it in two different formats, as you can see in the picture. You can get a traditional flag, and then you can also get more of what I think more of like a banner type flag. But yeah, they both turned out. I mean, they're sharp. They're very visually appealing. So
you can also get garden flags, car flags. And we're working on expanding that line, and we're going to try to submit it to go on the iPhone. That comes up in April, and Rachel and I are trying to keep the tabs on when we have to submit that. request
to get it as an emoji.
We want to try it. We want to try to, yeah.
Oh my gosh, that's great.
Well,
that is great.
We have to be successful at it first, but
no, yeah.
Oh,
Apple will, I'm sure, have something to say.
and
Yeah.
while I'm pipe dreaming, Bucks County Community College has agreed to meet with me to talk about the possibilities of me teaching classes down there.
Oh, that's wonderful. Please keep me up to date, because if that comes to fruition, we'll definitely share that out here on the channel and all my social media feeds for sure.
Because I'm quite sure that that I could fill the class with the Urglaawe community.
Yeah, probably.
Thank you to Dolly Moyer for this comment saying Doug.
Yeah. I wanted to show that real quick. Dolly, our friend from Fleetwood, is saying some very nice things. So thank you, Dolly. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
Well, Rob, it has been, I mean, you blow my mind on this stuff. I mean, I'm glad I have a much better handle on what I kind of always had an inkling as to what I thought
You're
Urglaawe
welcome
was.
to come to join us for one of our ceremonies anytime you want.
It would be really interesting. In fact, I'm gonna try and take you up on that at some point, if it'd be okay to maybe even do one of my shorter videos for my YouTube channel about you guys or something like that in the future, once the weather turns nice again or something. But we'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah,
but I just wanted to.
I appreciate it. I mean, you'll walk away thinking the Dutch is strong with this one.
Well, that's good. That's good. I just want to thank Rob for coming on and sharing your vast knowledge. I mean, we didn't even scratch the surface of the stuff that we could have talked about, I'm sure, and gone way more in depth about Urglaawe. And maybe that's a reason for us to have Rob back on in the future to go a little bit deeper about some of these topics, because there were a lot of comments in the comment chat here flying about people that seemed interested in learning more. Rob, real quick, could you share? Do you guys have a website? I know you do. What is that website address?
Let's see, because we just built a new hub. Brianna just built a new hub. Let me make sure it works. Well, one of my sites is Deutscherei.net, and Deutscherei.net has 2 pages on it. One is that are words that are missing from the dictionaries, because there's a lot of technical terms and things like that that didn't exist when the dictionaries was written. Number one, but they're words we actually use, and that's part of our whole expansion thing. Keeping it advancing, and I believe it's Urglaawe.org. Let me just check.
Yeah, I think you're right, because I just looked it up the other day. I think it is Urglaawe.org.
Yeah. Brianna is Brianna. She's our San Diego leader. She's taking the weight of the world off my shoulders with her web skills.
And while he's checking, Ralph says there's a podcast too, Hulla's Haven, Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Podbean.
And Ralph is the narrator of that, and it's worth listening to.
Okay, well, there you go, people. There's tons of opportunities for you to get learn more about this. Erica says, Rob, you're a font of knowledge. Thanks so much for sharing. He is, Erica. Absolutely. And Jennifer says, can you post a link? I will be posting a link in the show notes to the video that'll be of this archived video on the YouTube channel, with a link to urglaawe.org. And then on that website, I'm sure there's tons of other links for you to learn more and get interested. And of course, subscribe to the podcast. There's a lot of opportunities out there for someone that's interested in learning more about this faith, this religion, and maybe it's the there's a lot of people that are wandering, I think, these days. The old church doesn't work for them, but they still have a sense of faith and they want to express it. Maybe this is an avenue for some of you out there that feel kind of like in this, I don't know what you want to call it, this zone. This is an opportunity for something for you to explore. So I know.
Yeah, we got God's by the bushel and God's by the pound. I mean,
well, you can't beat that, I guess, right?
But it's also important to be connected to the community that's around you today, and that's and to your roots, whether they're your family roots or your friends' roots. Just to recognize the blessings that we have around us all the time.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much, Rob. We hope to have you back on in the future, and I'll definitely post your stuff on my social media feed as stuff. You ever need anything me to share out, just let me know and send it my way. Okay, Rob?
Thank you.
Mock Scoot, Bruder.
Maxima Bessa.
Okay, Meduna.
That's your global slogan, Maxima Bessa.
Maxima Bessa. I love it. Thanks, Rob. Take care.
That's all, everybody. Thank you very much.
Well, there you go, people. There's something for a lot of you to chew on. As I mentioned and alluded to before, I'm a 12th generation Lutheran here in America, and I have no no desire to change teams at this point. But Rob's story is absolutely fascinating. I love the aspect of learning these old stories that come from 2,000 years ago in Germanic Europe, these pre-Christian times of things that have, think we do things and maybe we think we know where they come from, but we really don't know how far back some of these legends and stories go. And I find that absolutely fascinating. So if this isn't a topic that you're interested in, by all means, there's tons of opportunities out there for you to learn more. Like I said, I'll post links on all my social media feeds to Rob's website, and there are multiple communities of Urglaawe in the United States. It sounds like, from what he was saying. I wasn't aware of that. I learned a lot tonight, and hopefully you did too. Great conversation. Thanks so much, Rob. Every month I come with you for something Pennsylvania Dutch language. You heard some, throughout the show. But this month I chose an excerpt from a poem called Der Schnee, which is The Snow, by a very well-known Pennsylvania Dutch author and poet, Ralph Funk. He has passed on. I don't remember exactly the date that this poem originates from, but this is just an excerpt from it. And, we're in the middle of winter. I don't know where you live, but here in Pennsylvania, winter's been pretty easy. We had some really cold, we had like a really cold snap right around Christmas Eve, Christmas, and the day after Christmas. But for the rest of winter, it's been pretty mild by Pennsylvania standards, and we haven't had much snow at all. Winter's not over. We all know that. But up until this time, it's been pretty light. So I thought, well, let's get a poem about snow. This is a great one. I have the Pennsylvania Dutch on the left. I'll read that. You can follow along with the English on the right. If you don't understand Pennsylvania Dutch, here is Der Schnee by Ralph Funk. Ein Schneesturm ist en Lust und stärkt en gute Brust, wann ma im raue Winter lacht. Die bitter Winterskält in der saure Welt ist was der Sommer süßer macht. Isn't that true? It sure is. It sure is. So a little bit of Ralph Funk for you. He's got some great poetry out there. Oh my gosh. Every month I also come to with you a song. I'm going a cappella today. I have been asked many times to do a Pennsylvania Dutch translation of the famous song from The Sound of Music, Edelweiss. It's this beloved song, right? And I did this translation a while ago, but I realized I never shared it on the stream. And I thought, well, I'll share it tonight. If you know The Sound of Music, you know this song. Heck, if you don't know The Sound of Music, you probably know this song anyway. So I'm going to say, hey guys, sing along with me if you can. Sight read the Pennsylvania Dutch with me. I got the chords above it if anybody wants to take a quick screenshot. If you're a guitar player or a stringed instrument player or whatever, and you want the chords and you can strum along the next time you're out at the campfire and you want a little bit of Edelweiss, sing along with me, people. Try your best if you don't know Pennsylvania Dutch. Stumble through. Nobody's going to correct you. It's all good. Edelweiss, Edelweiss, jede Maria, du griecht mich, glei und weiß, hell und rei, du guckst frei mich zu treffen. Blum und Schnee mag dich blie und wachs ewig. Edelweiss, Edelweiss, seg my heimat ewig. Then you just keep repeating as many times as you want. How's that for you? I don't sound like Julie Andrews or Christopher Plummer, but after a couple drinks, I usually sound a little better. We'll just leave it at that, dear friends. We are running long this month. Who cares? Hey, you guys know our good friend Rachel Yoder, who we talked about a lot this evening. We have our Pennsylvania Dutch merchandise shop, Zazzle.com/PA Dutch stuff. And we have two new, they just dropped today, designs out there. I have them highlighted here. We have a new shirt. And again, you don't have to buy a shirt. In fact, I have included here, you can get buttons, you can get stickers, you can get magnets, you can get magnets for your car, you can get t-shirts, you can get sweatshirts, you can get baby onesies, you can get kids shirts. The list is ridiculously long of things you can get through our shop. But these are some of our designs. The two brand new ones both make me laugh. So the shirt with the cow, if you don't understand Pennsylvania Dutch, well, it's half English, half Dutch. One to schmutz, ? Now, schmutz is a funny word because we have the verb to kiss in Pennsylvania Dutch, which is bosse, bosse, B-O-S-S-E. And the noun, a kiss, is bos. So, but we have also this word schmutz, which the very famous song Katie Klutz, this girl that could schmutz so well. So when you say schmutz, it can also have this connotation of kissing. So there you go. Want a schmutz? And we got our cow with lipstick on. And which I just love that one. But the one on the right, oh my gosh. Do you ever want to be able to walk around with a shirt that is an expletive but not get in trouble? Well, here you go. Donnerwetter. Donnerwetter in Pennsylvania Dutch does translate into a thunderstorm or thunder weather. But as many of you know, and maybe you remember your grandparents or your parents saying that exclamatory in an exclamatory way, it is also a way of saying like, son of a gun, or worse, depending how you want to translate it. But it's just a great, you walk around with that. Donnerwetter. It'll start a conversation for sure. But we have many other designs like the Du Husch and Freund in Pennsylvania, PD 1683. We have the Max Gut. We have the Ich bin Deutsch. Check out the website. It's zazzle.com/PA Dutch stuff. I have a link in the show notes on the YouTube channel. Definitely, we're not making money off of this stuff. When we make a couple bucks. That's it. In fact, we just got our royalties for the year. Trust me, we're not going out and buying Rolls Royce with what we're making on these shirts. But we do this stuff because we want people to be able to wear this stuff. Here, perfect. Rob's still joining us, and he's saying Donnerwetter might actually have its roots in a curse that Donner, our name for Thor, strike the target with lightning. There you go. Again, these old stories, these old traditions. It's great. It is great. So check out our website if you're interested. They make great gifts. They make absolute great gifts. If you like what we're doing here and you'd like to financially support the channel, please buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Doug Mainford. All money raised through the Buy Me a Coffee campaign goes to the upkeep of the channel, helps pay the bills, helps get technology, new lights, new microphones, all that kind of stuff. Trust me, I'm not using on anything other than that. So if you like what we're doing here, great. Feel free to buy me a coffee. If you like what we're doing here, but you don't want to buy me a coffee, that's okay too. I'm still going to love you for joining the show and supporting what we do. Well, mark your calendars because our February edition will be airing on Wednesday, February 22nd, George Washington's birthday, 2023 at 6 p.m. right here on the same channels that we had today, the YouTube channel, also on PA Dutch 101 on Facebook and on Twitter. Next month, I'll be welcoming on Dan Rowe, and we will be talking about the Gruber Wagon Works. If you are a Berks Countyan, that will sound familiar to you. If you are not from Berks County, you're going to learn all about Gruber wagons and the tradition of wagon making among the Pennsylvania Dutch. Of course, famously, the Conestoga wagon was designed and built by the Pennsylvania Dutch. Well, we're going to learn about the Gruber family and the wagons that they built in Berks County. It's going to be a fascinating conversation. We're going history next month, so join us. We'll also have something in Pennsylvania Dutch and a song, of course, like we always do month after month. But mark your calendars the 22nd of February, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek. Our March edition is also lined up, and we're going to have a crazy special guest in March. I'm not going to tell you who it is. I'll tell you next month, but it's going to be a crazy special guest, and the topic is going to be fascinating. There, wet your whistle for March. How's that sound? So, but I hope you can join us on the 22nd of February. Mark your calendars, like I said. If you like what we're doing here too, follow along on all our social media feeds. On Facebook, it's PA Dutch 101. We're on Instagram as well, where you get to see I put up a new Pennsylvania Dutch theme meme every Monday. It's Meme Mundog. We do that on our Instagram and on our Facebook and on our Twitter. Just look for PA Dutch 101 on any one of those platforms. Till next month, dear friends, stay healthy, be good, enjoy this warmer, milder weather that we've been having in the winter, and stay connected with me on social media. Of course, I love hearing from all you guys and answering questions and helping you reconnect or connect with your Pennsylvania Dutch culture and history and language. That's what we're here for. But until the 22nd, dear friends, take care. And as we say in Pennsylvania Dutch, Max gut. Max gut zu dir, Max gut zu dir, Max gut zu dir für now. Unsere Zeit ist all und so es ist Max gut für now. Hoff wieder mit dir zu sein. Hoff du bringst zurück ein Freund.
Mach's gut zu dir, mach's gut zu dir, mach's gut zu dir for now. Unsere Zeit ist all und so es ist, mach's gut for now. Hoff wieder mit dir zu sein, hoff du bringst zurück ein Freund. Und so mach's gut, lieber Freund, mach's gut.